So maybe moving on then to the next chapter in the book we can delve into in detail. One I really liked because I think it's one that tends to let applicants for graduate jobs down is you titled it "Look Before You Leap." Candidates often let themselves down in terms of their research for companies, and you cover this in detail in this chapter. Why do you think the research phase is so important?
It's important for a number of different reasons. I mean, it's really important because you you need to understand the role that you're applying for and the organization that you're applying for in order to be able to make sense of the questions that they're asking and to be able to respond appropriately. So from a very basic point of view, you need to know what it is you're heading into. If you haven't done research, it will show in your application, it will show in your interview in the assessment center. And not only will they not want to select you because you haven't been able to make appropriate responses to their questions, but they'll just get the impression that you're not interested. And if you've got to the stage of an assessment center, the truth is you're very close to a job offer, and it is worth your time and effort to put additional time into really preparing well. So we go into lots of different ways that you can prepare, including looking at your networks, looking online, seeing if you know anyone who works in that area or in that sector. And it is incredibly important and is probably the number one thing that I would recommend to students is to invest time in researching when you get to that stage.
One of the things that I think we talk about in the book a little bit is making the distinction and helping and thinking about the difference between the job you're going for, the company that you're going to work for, and then the sector or the market that it operates in, and actually doing some research on all three of those, because it's not always apparent to students when they're going for first job that actually all three of those are different and are important. And so if somebody asks you, well, what is it you want about this job? And the only things you can kind of come back are, well, I really like this kind of work, or I really want to earn this money, or whatever. I think you're trying to evidence to them that you know about the job, you know about the organization you're going to be working in, and you also know about the market. And in a way, that last bit about the market and the sector is the most important thing, really, because most employers are probably not that bothered that you know everything about how their organization's structured. But if you're going into an organization, they will want you to understand what the market they're playing in, what kind of business they do, what their competitors are, that kind of thing, I think is really critical. And all of that stuff's pretty easy to find out now. I mean, you can go online and you can find a lot of it, but we really think that talking to people is a really valuable form of research as well. And so if you can find somebody to have a conversation with, that's really helpful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I really like the way you broke it down into those three categories. I think that's a really sharp way of looking at it, and completely agree. I mean, when I was on the other side of the recruiting fence doing interviews, and you could, for personally, this was a question where you could very quickly see the caliber of the candidates by their response to this question. The people who all they do would be just regurgitate stuff from the website, the people, and then the people who'd actually made an effort and, as you said, had spoken to people. So whether they'd spoken to people at the company at open days, or careers insight days, or people who'd actually got in touch with people on the graduate scheme and spoken to them, just as you mentioned, by speaking to people, it really showed the people who'd actually gone the step further and put that effort in, as opposed to people who hadn't and just looked at the website. And that was a key question for me.